Like you.
Like you.
Like you.
Like you. We're Republicans serving our country.
Like you, we care.
We care about our families.
Our state.
Our nation.
And our world.
Like you, we believe in traditional family values.
And conservative principles.
We believe in freedom.
And justice.
And peace.
Like you, we know we live in troubled times.
With enemies seen and unseen.
Foreign and domestic.
And we're willing to stand and fight
for what is right.
Like you, we're spending our hard-earned time, money, and skills
to participate in the Republican process
and build a stronger party.
And just like you, we want to recognize what's great about America
and give our children a better world than the one we have now.
We urge you to just take 20 minutes and watch the beginning of this DVD.
And if you like it, keep watching.
We believe everyone can recognize truth and wisdom when it's properly presented.
As Americans and Republicans, we stand upon the shoulders of giants.
We have recognized the great leaders of our nation.
We have recognized the great leaders of our party.
We have recognized the principles which make them great.
And we're sure that you will too.
It's for my future.
I'm a Republican.
I'm a Republican.
I'm a Republican.
Republicans are individuals from many different racial, religious, and political backgrounds who hold the same basic conservative principles.
And then in 1960 came The Conscience of a Conservative, in which Barry Goldwater distilled conservatism to a few clear, simple propositions and accessible to the general reader.
The whole future of peace and the whole future of freedom.
It took people by storm because he had a clear political philosophy of limited government and free enterprise and strong national defense.
For a political book to sell 3.5 million copies in those days is astonishing.
When I was a freshman in high school, and I had a wonderful social studies teacher who was a very proud conservative. He had us read Conscience of a Conservative, and I ended up writing a long-term paper about being conservative.
I read it and reread it, and it was a part of my political awakening, if you will. In fact, I started on my campus a Young Conservatives Club. We would, get conservative books, read them, discuss them.
We have lost election after election in this country in the last several years because conservative Republicans get mad and stay home. This country is too important for any man to stay home and not work just because he doesn't agree. Let's grow up, conservatives. Let's, if we want to take this party back, and I think we can someday, let's get to work.
Goldwater didn't pick his constituency. They picked Goldwater. They said to Goldwater, you're our candidate, and we're going to run you for president.
Goldwater was all we had. He and he alone stood up in the Senate and said to the Republican Party, the emperor has no clothes on. The Republicans are leading the country in the wrong direction. We need to stand up to the Soviets. We need to stand up to the growth of government, etc. And it was like our political savior had arrived.
That extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice.
When Goldwater said his famous lines, extremism in pursuit of liberty is no vice, it is said that one of the journalists up in the press gallery rocked back in his chair and said, good God, Goldwater is going to run as Goldwater.
And let me remind you also that moderation in the pursuit of justice is no virtue. We find groups saying that the Constitution has been outmoded, that the problems of today have made it obsolete, and I say this is poppycock of the very first order and must be destroyed. I will insist that the Congress stop the wild spending spree begun by this administration. Never forget, there was only one freedom on which this nation was founded. That was freedom from government, from too much oppressive government.
'64 was the last convention of the old school in which the press and the delegates roamed at will, met each other. They could demonstrate at any time they wanted to and did.
Delegates to this convention, believe me, the tide is turning.
Let me begin by telling you about some of the votes I'm not going to get. The lazy, dull, happy people who want to feed on the fruits of somebody else's labor won't vote for me. The ones who are willing to believe that communism can be accommodated, none of them will vote for me. The Nazi and the fascist types, the bigots, they're not going to vote for me because my grandfather was a Polish Jew. None of them will vote for me, but do we want them?
It is with great pleasure that I present Senator Barry Morris Goldwater the Navy Distinguished Public Service Award.
I reject the theory that he became more liberal. Barry Goldwater's politics didn't change. He started a libertarian, get government out of people's lives. What changed was the national political conversation and agenda. When Goldwater went into politics, abortion wasn't on the agenda. Gay rights wasn't on the agenda. The fact that Goldwater then confronted this new agenda and said, here's how you apply libertarian, minimal government, conservatism, doesn't mean that he changed. It meant the agenda had changed. I go in to watch the election returns with some friends in New York. And at the end of the evening, the scale of the massive defeat of Barry Goldwater's apparent. Some network smoothie comes on and says, well, that's just about all we'll hear from conservatism for a while. And I remember thinking, well, we'll just see about that.
I came to this Congress 30 years ago opposing the concentration of power in the hands of unions.
He was a maverick in that sense, that he didn't care what the Republican Bible said. I mean, he was a unique character.
People say Goldwater lost in 1964. Some of us think Goldwater won. It just took 16 years to count the votes. In 1980, we finally got the results in, and conservatism had won.
Governor, are you prepared to take...
Because that's what it was to be an American in the 1980s. We stood again for freedom. I know we always have, but in the past few years, the world, again and in a way we ourselves, rediscovered it. Ours was the first revolution in the history of mankind that truly reversed the course of government, and with three little words: we the people. We the people tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. We the people are the driver. The government is the car, and we decide where it should go and by what route and how fast. Almost all the world's constitutions are documents in which governments tell the people what their privileges are. Our Constitution is a document in which we, the people, tell the government what it is allowed to do. We, the people, are free. This belief has been the underlying basis for everything I've tried to do these past 8 years. But back in the 1960s, when I began, it seemed to me that we'd begun reversing the order of things, that through more and more rules and regulations and confiscatory taxes, the government was taking